Welcome to the 2025 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jagnani, and today we'll explore this powerful theme: data meets intuition, the new currency of HR decision making. To help us understand this topic, we have someone who lives at the very intersection of data and instinct, Sahil Nayar. Sahil is an HR disruptor who loves blending data with intuition, strategy with storytelling, and innovation with impact. Whether he's shaping talent strategies, mentoring future professionals, or challenging the status quo, he does it with wit, wisdom, and a relentless drive to transform the way we experience work. An award winning HR professional, an author, a podcast host, and a certified happiness coach, he's been recognized over 50 times for his contribution to the field. When he's not decoding workforce dynamics, you will find him on a mountain trail or cruising through Mumbai on his Royal Enfield. Join me in welcoming the HR Bites guy, Sahil Nayar. Sahil, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you for the invite.
Wonderful. So I look forward to this exciting masterclass, Sahil. To begin with, my first question on today's theme is how can HR leaders strike the right balance between, data-driven insights and gut instincts when making people decisions?
I think, Neha, you've touched upon a very important aspect because the way times are changing, of course, we have a lot of data available at our fingertips. And because of it's a good problem to have, right? Because when you have so much of data, you can rely on that data because it's coming in. But the point is, it can also get equally confusing because many a times we see in large corporates, there are multiple sources of data. And therefore, if you don't have a single source of truth, you don't know what data to rely on, you don't know what is accurate, you don't know the source at which it is being captured. But having said that, I always believe that HR without the heart is just the R, which is resources. And therefore, you should always have people first, resources later. Because if you start treating human beings as resources, then it doesn't really make a difference because then you're treating them like any other resource. And that's not fair. I think the true magic really happens when you blend the two. It's not just about being entire left brain or entire right brain. It's about finding that fine balance. Because if you actually look at it, data gives you the what and the where. What happened? Where did it happen? Right? But instinct will tell you why and how. And that, to my mind, is the clear differentiator between data and instinct. Data will give you the what and the where, but instinct will give you the why and the how. And if you're only looking at the numbers, you will miss the nuance. And nuance is very, very important because if you just go with your gut on the other hand of the spectrum, then you will actually end up missing the pattern because data gives you patterns, right? And both have their pros and cons. And therefore, I say the intersection is actually at that space where intuition meets data. It's as good as you may say, I may have an amazing opening batsman, but if you don't have great fielders, we know that catches win matches as well. So you may have an amazing opening batsman, you may have phenomenal amount of data with you, you may have predictive analytics, dashboards, MIS. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a human looking at that data and you allow the machine to take decisions to a large extent, then you are missing the catch.
Sure, sure. Absolutely. Beautifully put. So I think the crux of it is the intersection, the blending of how and why versus the what and where, which data gives you. So thank you so much for throwing some light on that. My next question, Sahil, is in your experience, what are some common pitfalls that organizations face when they rely too heavily on data or too heavily on intuition?
Yeah, I think that actually comes up from the previous statement I made, which is the art is about finding balance. Because when you get too skewed on either side of the spectrum, you realize that if you're too reliant on data, then you're always asking the question of saying, hey, what's the KPI? What does the dashboard say? What are the numbers saying? Because you're very, very heavily reliant on data. And if you're very reliant on intuition, we've seen many a times, even very, very senior leaders, one bad day, one mad mood, one bad decision, and it takes them back, it takes the organization back a couple of years. And therefore, both have to be looked at from a particular lens. Of course, data becomes the bedrock. Insights provide tools for decision making, but keeping the heart in the center of a rational brain is very, very important. Come to think of it, right? You have a Ferrari, but you're running a Ferrari on CNG. Makes no sense, right? And therefore, the point that I always drive home is number one, do you know which car are you driving? Number two, is the car running on octane? Is the car running on nitrogen? Is it running on hydrogen? Is it running on petrol? Is it running on diesel or CNG? What's the fuel that is providing 0 to 100 in 6 seconds for you? And more importantly, as human beings, as managers, as leaders, are we even self aware that we are over indexing ourselves, which is actually creating a blind spot? Because we all have our biases, let's admit it. We all have our biases. So, are our biases over indexing us, thereby leading to a blind spot? Because when you're doing 150 kilometers an hour on a blind spot, you may be the best driver in the world, but trust me, roads in India are very treacherous.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Uh, Moving on to the next question. Sahil, can you share an example where intuition guided you in a direction where data couldn't fully capture that and how it impacted the outcome?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of one because there have been many, Neha, and I'm very happy that you asked this question because as I'm just thinking out, I think earlier on in my career, I was actually part of a panel that was deciding promotions for candidates. And, when candidates get onto a panel for promotions, many a times you have their entire CV, you have their career contour, how they performed, you have performance metrics. And when we looked at that as a panel member, a couple of us on the panel, the data was screaming out loud that not yet, this candidate is not ready. And many a times we go back to looking at the person, the manager of this person who is recommending, and what is the notes of those manager? Why do they believe this person is ready? Uh, Data very clearly said, Neha, not ready, average performance metrics, certain targets were missed. But when I looked at the entire CV in totality, and I had a conversation with that individual, my gut told me that there is very clearly a hidden spark there. All right. And as we went through that entire conversation, I managed to convince the panel to say, let's take a bet on this person. And I think many a times when you take a bet on someone and you let them know that, hey, you know what, you are not entirely there, but I want you to work on these two areas, but we're giving you the benefit of doubt and we are promoting you because we are taking a bet on you, right? Many a times I've seen this that people find it very easy to take bets on when they go gambling. They find it very easy to take bets when they go for horse riding at the Derby, right? And it's very easy to do that, but I don't know why people find it so difficult to take bets on people. And I think people are your biggest asset. So we took a bet on this person. We communicated a development plan, and you will be surprised that within a year, this person outperformed their peers. He became a great ambassador. The data that we looked at was actually capturing his past, but my intuition was focusing on his potential. And I think now, in hindsight, we all are wiser, right? So now, when we look at it, we said, oh no, if we had just looked at the numbers, we would have lost a rock star. But just because we took the bet on that person, we sat him down, we communicated his development plan to him. He, in his heart of hearts, felt that the organization has taken so much of a risk on me, I cannot let them down. And that, I think, was one of our best bets. And that person is doing so well today. So that's a classic example that I can share with you, Neha, of where data didn't tell us the story. It told us a story that was average, but we focused on potential of the person.
Sure, thank you so much. That's a beautiful example, and it clearly tells us that both lenses are important, Sahil, not just relying too heavily on data. This is a classic example where your gut was placed first, and which data can't tell you, right? The potential of a person. So, thank you so much for sharing that. My
Thank you.
next question, Sahil, is what skills should HR professionals develop to interpret data effectively without losing the human element in the decision making?
Sure. So I think again, this is a very polarized question because again, we're looking at intuition and data. I think two things are very important. When you look at data, I have seen many young professionals. If you give them an Excel sheet with 10,000 rows and 500 columns, they're lost. They are lost to such an extent where they don't know how to even read that data, right? They don't know how to make sense of it. The easiest thing that they like to do is upload that Excel file onto ChatGPT and say, give me a synopsis. But my question is, how do you know whether whatever AI you're putting the data through is giving you an accurate analysis, right? I am all for technology, but my point is, do you understand how that technology works? Do you understand the loopholes of that technology? And if not, common sense, does it even make sense to trust it 100%? So I think the two skills, one, I would say data literacy. And data literacy could be as simple as if you're a Gen X or a Gen Y, do you understand if you're interacting with a Gen Z, what are the 25 different emoticons? Or do you need to sit and Google them, right? Happy, sad, angry, thumbs up, everyone knows. But Gen Z is not using these emoticons. They're using different emoticons. So why don't you do a crash course on learning emoticons? That, to my mind, is data literacy because that's the new language. No one's really typing out long sentences, even on WhatsApp messages.
Right.
Now, are you able to sit and decode an emoticon that's coming? You're writing a paragraph on WhatsApp and a Gen Z is responding with a smiley. You don't even know what that smiley is. So that's for that generation. For another generation, my question is, like a Gen Z, you have so much of data, you're not able to crunch it. So do you really understand macros? Do you understand how to work with Tableau? Do you know how to understand with Power BI, right? Different technologies, different platforms, but do you really understand? Can you crunch that data into information or insight for me? On the other end of the spectrum, when we talk about intuition or gut, many of this could actually be fluid and built up with so much of underlying emotions, right? Are you able to decode what is said? Are you able to decode what is unsaid? And more importantly, what is between the lines, right? Can you sharpen your gut with empathy? Because at the end of the day, Excel sheets will be rows of employees telling you numbers, but do you know what's happening in people's lives? And if you can combine Excel sheets with eye contact and make the entire conversation bilingual, we're talking about data here. So I'm saying bilingual, which is fluent in numbers and fluent in emotions. So I think marrying these two would be a fantastic professional of tomorrow who understands data literacy and is emotionally intelligent as well.
Yes, and of course, empathy and understanding technology also comes with it. So thank you so
Correct.
much. So, Sahil, this brings us to the last question for today, which is how do you see the role of technology and analytics evolving in HR, and what space will intuition hold in the future of work?
Yeah. I think tech and analytics are going to be our co-pilots, right? Think of an aircraft. You have a captain, you have a first officer. Tech and analytics are going to be like your co-pilots. Algorithms will definitely tell you who is likely to quit, but they won't tell you when they are thinking or why they are thinking of leaving. So the why aspect becomes very, very important because once you understand the why, you will also know what will make them stay, right? And therefore, what ends up playing a very, very important role is to say, I have 3 lakh employees. Now, with these 3 lakh employees, I may have whatever technology that gives me a sensitivity analysis to say out of 3 lakh, so many are happy, so many are unhappy, so many are excited to get to work on a Monday. Brilliant analytics through technology. But the question is, if there is a smart Alex sitting in the room or is trying to say, hey, I want to test if this system works, and every day logs into the system and says, I am angry, I am upset, I'm angry, I'm upset. And for 1 week, no human speaks to this person. That person is going to say, hey, this technology doesn't work. Because for 1 week, if repeatedly I am saying that I am feeling sad, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling angry, I am waiting for someone to make that call to me and saying, hey, Sahil, when can we have coffee together? Which is bringing me back to where we started, and just to complete the entire circle, Neha, saying you may have resources everywhere, but if you don't have the heart in resources, I don't think you have human resources.
Sure. Absolutely. So, while technology and analytics are indispensable, I think the human touch is going to play a key role in every aspect in the organization. So, thank you so much for your insights today, truly thought provoking. And you have shown us, Sahil, that while data can give clarity, intuition can bring the depth in it. And,
Absolutely.
it's at the intersection, I think the HR decisions gain most impact. So, thank you so much for shedding light on that. It was
Sure.
great conversation.
Thank you so much, Neha. As always, I enjoyed this conversation with you. I think your questions are very powerful. They are very insightful. And thank you for having me on this podcast.
It's our pleasure, Sahil. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Thanks.